Welcome to our tour of power and authority in ancient Greece. Today I'll be using art, architecture, and texts to show you how the Greeks described their authority and power. To start off, I'd like to talk about one of the 7 ancient wonders of the world, the statue of Zeus at Olympia. Constructed by the architect Phidias, this giant seated statue showed Zeus holding Nike, the goddess of victory, in one hand and a giant scepter in the other. The idol represented God, justice, and the final authority. In his position as king of Mount Olympus, Zeus was the Greek just king. His portrait confirmed that rulers were to be elected not based on luck, but on their ability to exercise power fairly. The temple at Olympia, where the statue stood, was also the site of the Olympic Games, a symbol of tranquility, solidarity, and the victory of human genius, all ideals for Greek rulers. Our second artifact is the Chigi vase, a masterpiece of pottery from the 7th century BC. In this vase, we can see a hoplite warfare on a large scale, Greek troops forming phalanxes, shields locked and spears raised. In contrast to earlier depictions of heroism on a personal level, the Chigi vase portrays the transition to group command and collective conflict. All soldiers depend on the discipline and order of the collective, embodying the Greek notion of unity and common ownership. Leadership here is not one heroic individual, but the unity of the group in its movement and action. This is important because it represents the rising emphasis on civilian responsibility and democracy in Greek city-states, such as Athens, where collective participation in law replaced personal war. The Chigi vase thus provides an insight into the Greek conception of leadership not only as the domain of kings and generals, but as a collective enterprise in which all citizens must contribute. Moving on to our text, the first one I want to get into is Homer's Iliad, probably the most famous poem of any ancient Greek literature. This epic concerns the battle between 2 commanders, Achilles, the greatest of the Greek warriors, and Agamemnon, who led the Greek army at Troy. Their struggle over power, pride, and honor is a reminder of how leaders were supposed to be in Greece. As king, Agamemnon has formal control, but his bad leadership drives his soldiers away. Achilles, however, models the way of heroic leadership by his excellence, honor, and ability. Their bond shares with the general Greek idea that authority is not given with a title. It must be gained by honor, virtue, and deed. It was this conflict between imperial power and personal heroism that would influence later Greek political thought, particularly about democracy. Our second reading is Sophocles' Antigone, a tragedy that offers one of the most devastating critiques of authoritarian leadership in Greek literature. The tale concerns King Creon, who gives a decree forbidding the burial of Polynices and Antigone. Creon embodies the dangers of authoritarian rule, a sovereign who puts state of power ahead of justice. His fall is a cautionary tale for those who are too quick to reject rational thought or to heed the opinions of others. While Antigone is not an official ruler, she symbolizes moral courage and opposition to unjust authority. The dynamic underscores a central point in Greek philosophy. Good governance demands not only power and order, but also wisdom, charity, and tolerance. What do these ancient artifacts and texts reveal about leadership in ancient Greece? The statue of Zeus invokes the right of the rulers to do right, and the Chigi vase shows the significance of military heroism. Homer's Iliad speaks to the conflict between formal power and personal honor. Sophocles' Antigone is an instructive look at the perils of solemn authority. Together, these texts tell us of the Greek vision of leadership as being equal parts power, wisdom, justice, and mercy. It was the Greek way of thinking that a leader could not just be a man or a king. They must be a rallying point, a justice defender, a figure of heroics. Their considerations about power are still part of thinking about political will and moral judgment today. Thank you for coming on this journey with me. I hope you learned a lot about how the ancient Greeks viewed leadership.